Great. Well, I'm first just going to do a short welcome, and then Nick will get us into the meat of our meeting. First of all, it's so good to see everyone, even though it's virtual and even though you're in like 2-inch by 2-inch little boxes on my screen. This is not how we imagined our first meeting going, but we are so excited that all of you are volunteering your time, your effort, your energy into what we think is probably one of the most exciting and important things going on in the state of North Carolina right now. And I just wanted to kind of start us off. First, I'm Kate Pierce. I'll introduce myself. I'm the planning supervisor in charge of Dix Park for the city of Raleigh, and we'll introduce a couple more staff as we go. But I've had the pleasure and responsibility of leading this project for the past 5 years. And I just really want to say, Dix Park is not just an opportunity to create a great public park. It really is our chance to invest in a piece of civic and social infrastructure that I think is going to have a transformative impact on this community for generations to come. It's a place where we can come together in times of protest or crisis. It's a place that we can come together in times of celebration and reflection. It's a place that we're going to just continue to love and learn from, and hopefully it'll be this place that our entire community calls their own by the time our work is done. And it is that kind of with that hope and that inspiration and that responsibility that I'm so grateful that each of you has decided to dedicate some of your time to creating this park for and with this community. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for all of us to figure out this new paradigm of meeting virtually. It's going to be a challenge for all of us to really reach out into our communities and listen and hear what they're saying and bring those voices back to this collective table. But it's also one of the most exciting opportunities that I've ever personally had the opportunity, ever personally been involved with. And I hope all of you feel like, this is just the beginning of something really great and really exciting that hopefully you're going to have a hand in shaping over the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, however long you decide you want to participate. Dix Park's going to be part of that future. So I just, again, want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your spirit of generosity and participating in this process. And I will hand it over to Nick to get us started. And then you'll see me in a little bit as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Kate. I think you're gonna pull up something now. I wanna echo the excitement piece. I think I can speak for both staffs on how excited we are to get this committee rolling and how much we've missed having this type of committee and this specific committee this past year. So thanks, Kate, for starting us off. And as Kate pulls up the agenda for today, I want to kind of start with echoing something else that Kate said is, while we understand that virtually is the best way for us to meet now, it's not our preferred way for this community to interact. We feel that the in-person, more intimate setting is a better fit for the kind of conversations and responsibilities that this committee has. And we look forward to a day when we can safely gather. But until then, we are confident in our ability to find other ways to effectively meet, and we will provide some more information on these opportunities as we move forward. But today's presentation and our meeting today is really going to be presentation heavy, and that's because of the information that we're sharing. It's because there are 50+ people on this call, and it's going to be really tough to have conversations in this format, but we will continue to be providing other avenues for this critical interaction to take place. So I wanted to start us off there. In terms of agenda today, this is our kickoff meeting for the committee. It's been a long time coming. We're going to share a lot of information today, and we'll continue to onboard over the first couple meetings, so we're not going to cover everything today. But what we will cover is a brief introduction to some of our staff. We will hit some housekeeping items. We'll do a quick introduction to some committee members. I've asked a couple folks to introduce themselves today. And then we'll get some, spend some time on a general presentation about the park and the park's history and planning and future implementation, and also a presentation from the Conservancy on the Conservancy's purpose and their successes to date. I'll close this out with some committee action items, so responsibilities we'll have before our next meeting. And then we hope to adjourn around 7:30-ish. We're going to keep these meetings at an hour and a half for now. I understand that these virtual meetings can be really draining. So we'll hopefully close out at around 7:30, let y'all enjoy your evening. So that's where we're going to start. In terms of staff introduction, we're going to introduce two city staff today. Where Kate and myself, who will be speaking and presenting. The rest of our staff team is listed here, who we will introduce over the next several months and next several meetings. We have a really strong city team, and as well, we have a really strong Conservancy partner team. You'll be introduced to Trey Roberts and Sean Malone from the Conservancy today. But the entire staff teams on both sides look forward to interacting with this committee. And I hope you look forward to interacting with them as well. Okay, some quick housekeeping items. We are on Zoom. We will continue to use Zoom for the time being. The first most important rule here is if you could keep yourself and your computer muted, that would be great to make sure we can clearly communicate. In terms of video, I would love to see everyone's faces if you're willing and able to do so. But if you can't, totally understand if you don't feel comfortable doing so. But it is good to see some head nods and smiles occasionally to remind me I'm not speaking to this black box. Our meetings will be set mostly on Monday evenings. They will be at a minimum quarterly. So this would be our summer meeting, for example, but we'll also have special meetings on request, and we're expecting about 6 to 8 meetings a year. And those are our formal, larger format meetings. And for the time being, as I mentioned, they will be virtual. Our next meeting, this is new information, will be September 21st. That is, again, a Monday, 3 weeks from today. Same time slot, 6 to 7:30. So please hold that if you can. This will be our onboarding part 2. We'll speak about the committee in more detail. We'll also do our first exercise and introduce the Plaza and Play project. And we'll have some committee engagement on that and a kickoff there. So please hold that date. I'll keep referring to it as a reminder, and I'll also be sending out meeting schedulers and Zoom information in a similar way that we did today. So hopefully that's working for everyone. In terms of document sharing, we have 2 different sites that we'll use. I'll be sending a follow-up email to this meeting, and I'll include the links there for everyone. But the first is SharePoint. This is our committee-specific sites. We'll be sharing the materials to review in advance of meetings or in a response to a meeting. And this is a shared folder with the committee. So please let me know if you're having any issues accessing that. We will continue to use this moving forward. The second is Board Docs. Board Docs is the city platform for sharing documents and information related to the formal committees, commissions, and boards that the cities have. So if you've used this, it's most likely been for Raleigh City Council or the Parks Board. This is where we'll post our meeting agendas. We'll post our meeting presentations and also our meeting notes. And this is a publicly accessible site so that we can be sharing out the committee activity to the larger community. So again, I'll share both of those in a follow-up email, but just a heads up, that's what we'll be using for this committee. And fourth here, I want to introduce another concept we're calling our onboarding cohorts. Because we're not going to be able to have these smaller group conversations, interactions with this in our large format meetings, we're going to split the committee up into 3 onboarding cohorts. And we'll have activities that will be focused on each of these cohorts. There'll be 15 members each. The first activity will be a tour that we'll offer from city and conservancy staff. We'll meet out at the park and have a social distance park tour for those who feel comfortable doing so. So that'll be the first activity where you'll be able to spend a little bit more time with individual committee members and also individual staff. But we'll also set up additional Zoom meetings in our smaller groups to have discussions about the master planning process, about any general questions that you have about how the committee is going to function, or anything you think would be good to know as we kind of launch and get into the committee. And we're hoping to have about 2 of those for each of our cohorts. So this is just an introduction. There'll be more information shared there, but as we recognize that today's meeting is pretty presentation heavy and you did not join this committee to have information shoved in your face, we're going to have other opportunities for us to gather and converse and have some additional conversations. Yeah, that's a... As we get rolling here, I wanted to reset with a quick overview of the role and the purpose of this committee. And as I mentioned, the next onboarding package will be focused on the committee and its purpose. But to me, when I think about when a park is being developed, there's different categories of responsibilities that we have. We have responsibilities that fit nicely with things that the staff can handle. So these can be on a project management scale. These can be on the operational and programmatic side. Things that fit nicely for staff to do. On the other end of the spectrum, there are topics and conversation and engagement opportunities that the full community needs to be present at. So these are things like high-level direction for the master planning process, or our larger format meetings around specific projects that we'll get into here in the fall. And we'll be having conversations with the larger community at these meetings that on questions that make sense for the full community to engage with. And then there's the in-between. There are things that staff needs advice and direction on, but maybe don't lend themselves to a full community conversation because they need maybe more specialized experience or specialized expertise, or they don't lend themselves to taking place in a larger format conversation. And that's where this group's really going to step in as a representation of the community. And the two-way conversation that this committee is tasked with, and the information will be shared and discussed here. And we are hoping that this group will be able to take that information, questions, and share it out with your community, with everyone that you interact with on a daily basis, personally and professionally. And then also the other direction, we're hoping that you all feel comfortable bringing back what you hear when you're having these conversations in the community, in your circles, and bring it back for discussion here, so that we can say we can recognize these larger needs that the community has and desires, and they can take place in a focused and a kind of structured way with this committee. So this is a really important piece of our process. This committee will give recommendations up to the leadership committee. So we'll be working on a recommendation level, and then the leadership committee in turn will give recommendations to the Raleigh City Council, and that's kind of the decision-making tree and recommendation tree that we have. But I just wanted to introduce kind of the role and the purpose there. And the way that we're really going to do this, and the only way that we can do this, is by having broad and diverse representation of the actual community that this park is going to serve. This, we're hoping and we feel really confident that this committee can be that representation. We had a really detailed process for getting here. The application process spanned a month and a half. We had an overwhelming response of really high quality applications and individuals that wanted to be involved in this process. And we had 2 separate review bodies perform a blind review of all of our applications to get to the point that we are today, which is 24 new members, so individuals that have not been formally engaged in our process. That will bring fresh perspective, fresh passion, and fresh ideas into the project. And that's paired with 21 what we're calling rollover members. These are individuals that served on our advisory committee, the Master Plan Advisory Committee, that usher the master plan through, and they'll bring the institutional knowledge and the experience into this process. And we're hoping that it's the combination of the two groups as we work together that will be the strength of how this committee is going to function.
Nick, the only thing I also just wanted to add is that it's also unique that this committee is a joint committee of both the city and the Conservancy. And so you have staff supporting you from two different organizations, the city as the owner, operator, programmer of Dix Park, and the Conservancy as our 501c3 partner. And Sean and Trey will talk a little bit more about the Conservancy specifically, but that is a unique setup for us, that we're existing to support and to be in communication with two organizations, both dedicated obviously to the future of Dix Park.
Yep, thanks, Kate. And I think this will be evident as we bring different tasks and items to the committee. There will be responsibilities that the committee will have that are related to both sides, both the city and the Conservancy side. So that is something that's extremely unique and really critical for how the park's going to develop. Okay, we're going to move into our committee member introduction. As I mentioned, I've asked a couple folks to be ready to share, and I think I see some folks that are here. When you're sharing, this is a quick introduction. If you could share your name, whether you're a new or returning member, and then interest and expertise, interest in serving on the committee, and excitement about the park. And as I mentioned, this will be a short introduction, but Jay, if you're here, this will be our first test on Zoom with the committee. If you could kick us off, that would be awesome.
Sure. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, gotcha.
Hey, that's great. Hey, my name's Jay Kumar. I'm a returning member of the committee. I was one of the co-chairs along with Bill and Ashton of the MPAC. Really excited to be back and see this project continue. My professional work is with the North Carolina Healthcare Foundation, working with our health systems and hospitals across the state. So really interested in the intersection of this park and health, in particular behavioral health and health equity are two of my areas of focus, and excited to see how we integrate that and bring outside views into this committee. Thanks.
Thanks, Jay. I think Jackie's joining us in a second. Simone, are you with us?
I am. Hi, everyone. My name is Simone Frank. I'm new to the committee, so I'm really excited to be here. I currently live in Durham, and I work as an engagement and outreach coordinator at the North Carolina Translational and Clinical Sciences Institute, where I help facilitate connections between UNC researchers and community stakeholders who are interested in health research. So I first became interested in Dix Park during my master's in public health program at UNC, and I actually graduated this past May. But I ended up taking a class within the American Studies department about the history of Dix Hospital, had the opportunity to work with some of the digitized patient ledger records and work on some case studies from patients who are at the hospital. So got really interested in that way. And then that sort of led me into taking a course about nonprofit government relationships within the School of Government, where I studied the Dix Park project as an example of a successful cross-sector collaboration, and actually spoke with some of the people on this call. So I guess my interest is really twofold. I'm definitely interested in using my background in public health to think through how we can evaluate health outcomes of the park, and again, sort of adopt a health equity perspective in park planning and implementation. And also think about how can we weave in the history and legacy of Dix Hospital and the theme of mental health into park development.
Absolutely. Thanks, Simone. Curry, are you with us?
Yes. Hi there. My name is Curry Bird, spelled like Carrie, but my mom pronounced it Curry, like the spice. I am Sisseton Wapana Oyate, is my enrolled tribe in South Dakota, but my mom was a Lumbee Indian from Robeson County, which is where I was born and raised. I'm currently serving as president of Triangle Native American Society here in Raleigh, and we recently partnered with Dorothea Dix and the Dix Conservancy to do a land acknowledgement there a few weeks ago, which was very successful and very humbling to us, and just acknowledging that the land was first inhabited by Native Americans, and we were just very pleased to see that. We actually had some tribal members from the Lumbee tribe who were actually buried on site. They were actually clients there of the hospital, and they're interred there on the property. And I'm just very excited to be a part of this exciting adventure to see where Dorothea Dix property goes, and its use in the future for everyone of all ages and races. And me and my husband, we live in North Raleigh, out by Falls Lake, but also have a place here in Carolina Beach, which is where I currently am right now. So glad to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Curry. Happy to have you. Shauna, you with us?
I am, and this is a surprise for me, so I did not get your email.
Well, perfect. We'll put you on the spot then.
Perfect. Good thing I like to talk. So I'm Shauna. I'm returning, and I'm really elated and honored to be returning and getting to serve and scrolling through and seeing everyone's faces. So I love that. Let's see. I'm a former nonprofit director, and my focus during that time was on folks experiencing a housing crisis. And I'm now with Solido.net. And so, you know, the things that have remained true for me is really caring about people having access, being included, having community, and being connected. And so this role is just a different way of doing that work. Now more than ever, people need to be connected, right, through technology. And before, I was doing around building community. And I will say that the park for me, I ran into Kate there just a couple days ago. I go out there probably 5 or so times a week. And I really am grateful to have that, you know, just a mile or so from my house. But I look forward to other people having that as a respite or a safe place to go as we build it out. And so just really honored to serve as a really small part of that. Was that okay? That wasn't bad for being on the spot, right?
Oh,
Not bad.
Yeah.
I don't think you should tell anyone. I think everyone should go through that.
Well, maybe moving forward, we'll do that. Did Jackie join us? She said she was hopping on us a little bit late.
Hey y'all, so sorry. I was just writing us an apology in the chat. Hi. Sorry I'm late. My other meeting ran over.
You're good. Go ahead.
I'm Jackie Ayala. I am in Durham now, but I was in Raleigh for about 5 years. I am a returning member. I was on the Master Plan Advisory Committee for its duration, and I have a lot of interest in equity and how the park is built, and community participation and outreach. My expertise is I was a community organizer for a long time, and I have a lot of climate and energy policy expertise, and some environmental policy expertise as well. So also have interest in those areas. Was that it? Did I do a good job?
That's perfect. Thanks, Jackie. Well, it's good to see you folks are able to share. It's good to see everyone else. And I think I'm going to take Shauna's idea that this is your formal warning. We'll be calling on folks after this. If you wouldn't mind just having a couple things in your back pocket. And we'll introduce members as we get going, and y'all will get to know each other through our onboarding groups as well. So thank you. With that, we're going to move into our first part of the presentation. Kate's going to talk on the city side of things about some accomplishments to date, some planning efforts, and also our current update about the project. So Kate, I'm passing off to you. Oh, yeah. And you, Kate, sorry. You reminded me, I didn't mention, because of the format that we're doing today, the best way to interact and ask any questions is in the chat. We are monitoring that, so please feel free to share any questions or comments you have here. If they're a good thing for the committee to talk through, we might answer them here, but we also might respond in the chat or in a follow-up email. So thanks for the reminder, Kate, and pass it off to you.
Yeah, so I hope y'all are excited about just, you know, one, I love meeting everyone. I'm sad we're not in person, but understand there. But this group is dynamic. We've got so many people with such a diversity of experiences, And I'm really excited about what that's going to contribute to this process. I thought it would be helpful just to do a quick 5-year run of history. And obviously this park has much deeper history and legacy than just the most recent 5 years. And we will share those stories with you. But I thought I'd start with recent history. For a lot of you, this is probably repetitive information, but for some of our new members, maybe this is new information. So thank you for just sticking with us. As most of you are aware, the city of Raleigh purchased this property from the state of North Carolina in 2015. And so it did represent a decade or so more of negotiations between the city and the state. And it resulted in the city purchasing the property fee simple for $52 million. And that investment that our leadership made in 2015 is, I think, something that is pretty amazing, that the city kind of basically took out a loan to buy this property to preserve it as public space for future generations. And so I was hired at the end of 2015. Shortly thereafter, the Conservancy was formed. 2016 is also when we held our first major community festival, where we had over 27,000 people come out to the park on the hottest day of the year. Maybe some of you were there. Like on record, it was the hottest day of the year. And thankfully we did have some bubbles for kids to cool off in. But that was really the first moment where I realized the potential of this place to serve this community in ways that some of our other, that we haven't really served it before. And that's really exciting. In 2017, we launched an international search for a consultant firm to help us develop a master plan. Michael Van Valkenburg Associates was selected, and over the past couple of years, from 2017 through 2019, really, we've focused on engagement and having conversations and building relationships between the community and this place. A lot of our rollover members were out at street festivals and, sweating it out with us under tents at the park. And it really was this amazing moment to have conversations with the community about their hopes, desires, fears, concerns, questions about the future of Dix Park. And, part of this group's role moving forward is going to serve that same function. How do we, listening to the community and sharing information with the community and bringing forward those ideas, those concerns, so that we are all working with as much information as possible. So we had a lot of fun over 2017, 2018, engaged over 65,000 people in the master plan process, which is pretty amazing. And that led to a full adoption by Raleigh City Council in February of 2019, adopting the master plan. That same year, we also worked with Dreamville to host the Dreamville Festival. Maybe some of you joined us that day. That was also another transformational moment for the park. 40,000 people from around the world came to Raleigh to celebrate in art and culture and music. And it was one of those moments that, that evening I sat out there and just marveled at people coming together from all across the US and from abroad to Raleigh at Dix Park in a celebration of arts and culture and music. And it really spoke to me about how transformative this place can be. And not to leave out our furry friends, and also in 2019, we opened the temporary dog park, which will become the site of our first major project. I will say, and I'm a dog owner, I think she's actually in the picture, which I just now noticed in the back corner. This is some of our most passionate park participants. And so you'll get to know a lot of these people and hear their voices through this process. So that kind of brings us to 2020. Before we talk about where we are today, I also just wanted to provide a little bit of a reminder about the master plan, because the master plan really is this foundational document that is going to be our guidebook for how the park develops over time. It is a living document. Things will change. This committee will probably make some recommendations to change or update some elements of the master plan. But if you haven't taken the time to read the 265-page document and over 700-page appendix, that's okay. We're going to have a couple of sessions, and if you want to learn a bit more about it. But it is our roadmap for the future development of Dix Park. And it's founded on a couple of very simple principles. One is that this park offers two different but very complementary experiences. So hopefully most of you have been to the park. You know it's beautiful, these green spaces, the tree canopy. It's really this 19th century beautiful park beautiful movement. And we don't want to mess any of that up, right? We want to create this natural heart in Raleigh. But we also want to complement that with a 21st century modern park experience. So it's that balance of two that are going to really set this park apart from other parks. The idea that it has this nature, this kind of escape, also paired with this excitement and energy of a 21st century park. That's kind of further broken down into these 6 landscapes. And I'll talk a little bit more about where we're going to focus over the next year, but each of these landscapes has a different and unique park experience. And it's really intrinsic to the qualities of that space today. So the creek, for example, is hopefully going to be transformative in not only creating this water escape on the edge of the park, but also restoring the hydrology and ecology of this water system. And we'll talk about each of these park landscapes as we move forward, but those 6 landscapes really are kind of the foundation that the park experience is built on. In addition, through all of that feedback, we heard consistent themes, right? We heard about, Raleigh and the Triangle. We're a creative community, so the park needs to reflect and be a place for our creative spirit. We heard about the importance of food and community, and how this place needs to speak to everyone and be a place that everyone feels safe and welcome. We talked a lot about wellness and recreation, and that that this park serves as critical infrastructure to the well-being of our community, both in terms of physical activity, but also thinking about its past as a mental health hospital. How does this place serve the community just in different ways? History and reflection, the legacy and history of this place is deep and rich and complex. And we want to tell all stories, and not all of the stories are pleasant or necessarily bedtime fables, but they're important for us to share so that this entire community understands the history of this land, and what it means to be a park moving forward, to be a public space, a democratic space moving forward. And then gardens and ecology. There's some really beautiful natural areas of the park today, and we want to enhance that and increase the biodiversity of the site so that all of the critters that want to live there also feel safe and welcome. So these programmatic themes are lenses through which we will need to make some decisions about the physical space, but also the types of events and education and programs that are offered in the future of the park. And that'll all be part of this group's responsibility. But fundamentally, there were 3 main priorities of the master plan, and they were to build from what is already here today, to build on the beautiful natural landscapes, the beautiful cultural landscapes, to open up and connect this park to the community. And when we talk more about history and legacy, we'll talk about how this place was exclusionary, how it was a place you were sent. And so how do we change that perception and make this place a place people want to go and experience and come together? And then finally, that this park be a place for everyone. And that's a goal, right? It's not a place for everyone today. There are barriers, both physical and psychological barriers, to everyone feeling like this is their central park. And so how do we overcome and mitigate some of those challenges? And this committee is going to have to think about those things and process that. And so the master plan is our road guide. We're going to have a more in-depth sessions for the cohorts if you want to learn more about the master plan, but it is that foundational piece of work that'll set us on our future path. In the master plan, we did identify kind of phases of work. You know, we would love to build the park all at once, but that's neither a fiscal nor a resource reality. So we identified these first phases of the park that really look to improve the park edges, create new connections, enhance some of the landscapes that are there today, and ensure that we're creating that variety of experiences that's going to draw people of all interests and backgrounds to the park. Now, because of kind of COVID and budget realities, we've had to take the phase 1 project priorities and focus those even further. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that focusing effort, about what are we really going to be tackling as a group over the next year. First is City Council directed staff to think about connecting Dorothea Dix Park to John Chavis Memorial Park. And so over the next year, city staff will be working to create a really strong bicycle and pedestrian connection between those two parks, to look at accessibility, to look at safety, to look at placemaking, to create that cultural connection between these two places. And that's something I'm really excited that we're going to move forward over the next year. In terms of revised priorities for this group, I'm going to talk briefly about the big picture and then drill down into a couple of specific examples. But we're going to be focused as a group on projects and also some really larger kind of park-wide efforts. And some of the projects this group is going to be focused on is, one is guiding and advising on the design of the Plaza play. That's our first major project coming out of the master plan, and your next meeting is going to be almost entirely focused on kicking off that effort. In addition, we are looking at the creek and landfill feasibility work and the renovation of the historic chapel by the Conservancy. We also know that we need to continue our equity work. And so all of those will be kind of our focus priorities, and I'll speak a little bit more on each of those in a few moments. But because of where we are in terms of funding and resources, we did have to defer a number of the other phase 1 project priorities. And so including kind of some of the cemetery improvements and the land bridge work, those have been deferred until we have resources available to focus on that. Now, that being said, they're going to come up in conversation. So it's not like they're off limits, right? But the actual focus of work is going to be on kind of your left-hand side of the screen. And I want to just talk a little bit more about some of the project work that's happening right now. So first is the Plaza play. And just as a reminder, this is an area of the park. It is highlighted in yellow. It is on Lake Wheeler Road, and it is one of our phase 1 project priorities. Grayson Mon on our team, who you saw her picture earlier, will be leading this work for the city, and she will be facilitating the discussion at your next meeting. But this is a really exciting opportunity to create the first kind of welcoming moment in the new Dix Park. And so it is a 12.5-acre project area. Michael Van Valkenburg Associates was contracted to do the design work, so they will be back with us at your next meeting. Thankfully, the Conservancy is funding this project completely, so that's also kind of unique in terms of how city projects are funded. So it is completely funded by the Dix Park Conservancy. It will be managed by City of Raleigh team, and we also are partnering with our construction management group to bring in a contractor early on so that we're designing and thinking about its buildability at the same time. This is a moment for us to make a statement with this first project. It is going to have elements of plaza and play and water and garden. All of those programmatic themes, history, legacy, food, community, will find its way into the future plaza play. And this group is going to have a hand in shaping that and making recommendations to inform the design of the Plaza Play. The picture you see on the right is a project that Michael Ben Valkenburg Associates has recently finished in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And if you get a moment, just Google Gathering Place at Tulsa, and you'll see how they took kind of a pancake flat site and turned it into the most visited most visited tourist spot in Oklahoma. And, you know, we're designing for Raleigh, we're designing for the region, but we're also designing for visitors that come to Raleigh. And so I think there's just some really great imagery you'll see, and it's going to set the tone. It's going to set how bold we want to be with our first major project moving forward. And also, I think, be a reality check for us on what we can do with the resources that we have available to us. So that's really exciting, and that will be the focus of a lot of your project work early on. We also, you know, had this very bold ambition in the master plan to dig out a landfill and recreate a creek bed. And we're hopeful that we will start that work this fall. All of it, though, is dependent on some state grants that we should be getting notice of here shortly. So if we're awarded those grants, that work will also kick off. And this will become another one of the project areas that this committee will focus on. So you're going to have work around the plaza and play. You will potentially have work on the creek and landfill. And so you're going to see kind of the breadth and depth of your work is there's no lack of it. So again, thank you for participating, because your hours will be well spent. I also wanted to mention that the Conservancy has graciously offered to rehabilitate the All Faiths Chapel on the campus. This project is underway. It is being completely funded and managed by the Conservancy, and we expect completion by the end of 2020. So hopefully, you know, COVID magically, we're going to be able to gather together, and this will become our meeting space moving forward. It is intended to be this multi-purpose community venue where a third-party group could come in and host a lecture, or a family could have a family reunion or a family celebration like a wedding. And it's also going to have to it's also going to be the staff spaces for both the city and the Conservancy. So we're really excited about this project moving forward, and look to the moment in time where we can all gather in the beautiful space that it will be together. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Sean Malone and Trey Roberts with the Dix Park Conservancy, and they're going to talk a little bit about the organization and really our marriage and how we operate together as a public-private partnership.
Thank you,
Sean.
Kate. Hi, everyone. I've been looking forward to this night so much for, as Nick said, a very, very long time. It's just really great to have everybody together as we roll up our sleeves and get all of this going. All right, so go ahead and move forward. We haven't necessarily practiced what's going on. So as Kate said, this is a public-private partnership, right? The Conservancy exists to support the city, to serve as its philanthropic partner, so to help raise money to very significantly augment public funding, and also to serve as its community engagement partner, to help reach out to the community and bring the community into this project. All of which in service of the Conservancy's mission, which is up on the screen, but for those who can't read it, in partnership with the City of Raleigh, ensure the creation and long-term success of Dorothea Dix Park as a place for everyone, a transformative public space for community, health, and celebration that will enrich our quality of life in North Carolina. I'm really proud and humbled and honored to have the Conservancy be part of this public-private partnership. I think everybody involved with it is. Kate will point out, and she's got a great understanding of the history of this, that all of the great public spaces, particularly the great public parks in America, have these public-private partnerships. That's how you create something extraordinary that really serves the community. Lots and lots of cities, in fact, in most cases, they don't start off by creating it. Most of the time that a conservancy is created, it's created because something has gone terribly wrong, right? Central Park is in disrepair. Bryant Park in New York has been renamed Needle Park. It is, it is no longer safe. It is no longer for everyone. It is no longer something that feels welcoming and special and inspirational. And so I think it's a really big deal that the city of Raleigh from the very beginning said, we're going to embrace this idea of a public-private partnership. We're not going to partner with the public and a nonprofit out of desperation. We're going to do it because that's how all the really extraordinary public spaces ultimately do it. So let's do it from day one. And I just give the city and its leaders and all of the staff who lead this project so much credit for both making that decision and then being so welcoming and collaborative and saying, how do we all do this as a community? So it's great and exciting. All right, next slide. There are 4 overarching objectives of the Conservancy, and I'm just going to talk about the big picture just so you know what it is the Conservancy does. The first one is to ensure that Phase Now is successful, culminating in the ribbon cutting of the Grand Plaza and Adventure Play area in 2024, and that at the same time we're setting the stage for the success of all of Phase 1 for the entire first decade or so of creating the park. Up on the screen is the list of projects that the Conservancy has committed to up front. And basically what we understand, particularly with COVID and other things going on, that there had to be a delay in there being a public bond to make this happen. And so the Conservancy didn't want the project to stagnate. We didn't want momentum to be lost. We didn't want to not be able to take advantage of people like you who are ready to commit your time. And we didn't want to wait a year and a half to start a year and a half worth of design over at Plaza and Play. And so the Conservancy committed to, instead of, having everybody bring in money at the same time, saying the Conservancy will go out and raise and contribute the first $10 million and just get everything going so that once we get to a bond issuance that was purportedly, the idea was to defer it for a year. So the hope is that it would be next October, that things will already be rolling and then public funding comes into play and then everything keeps on going. And so the idea is that we're able to do this without any significant changes to what the timeline would have been if we didn't face COVID and didn't face some of the other delays. And so that's the path we're on, and we're working hard to make that happen. The second overarching objective is to raise a whole lot of money. The Conservancy raised a whole lot of money because the Conservancy has no money, right? When we say we're contributing to something, all we're doing is connecting with the public and bringing in philanthropic dollars to give to the project. So raised a whole lot of money during the planning period. We're going to raise even more during Phase 1. We're going to raise even more for grants to the city for park events and programs and Conservancy outreach and programs and activities. And we'll talk about raising money some other time, but that comes in both major gifts, which really matter. People who can put a lot of zeros on their check help make things happen, and that's meaningful. It also comes from community giving, and every dollar really does make a difference. And those $5 and $10 and $15 and $50 gifts add up fast and have huge impact. And so we'll make sure we keep you in the loop about that work as well. The third one is going to the next slide. The third is to ensure the success of future municipal bond funding for Dix Park. We're looking toward next October, which is what had been discussed, and we'll be working with and trying to inspire and advocate to council, making sure that enough is going on there to generate more philanthropy and to make sure the project has what it needs to move everything forward. And then the fourth of our 4 overarching objectives that we have as a board and have voted on for board is a commitment to representation and diversity, which is both a objective in and of itself and is also critical to the success of those other 3 objectives. And it's something that there are things that, we are listening a lot and trying to learn and trying to make sure that this entire endeavor and that the Conservancy in particular is walking that walk and understanding that there is no checkbox or finish line for that. That's just something that we're working hard to bake into who we are and what we do. So those are those four. And then with the last few minutes, I want to hand it over to my colleague, Trey Roberts. He is our community engagement manager. And as Nick said, we're sort of introducing team members on both sides a little bit at a time, but would love Trey just to talk a little bit about the work that he's leading and that the Conservancy is doing in the areas of community engagement right now.
Thank you, Sean. I want to say, first of all, before I get into anything, I want to thank everyone for being so interested in this project, to dedicate your time to help us and to help shape this future. I started off at the Conservancy in March, the first week of quarantine, actually. So I've been seeing everyone via Zoom call, and a lot of the challenges now that we're facing is basically engaging community when you can't even really get together. As we all know, we're using the park as a place of solace, and that's great. And we have an important thing here in the background of Raleigh. So I've been working with community groups. I've been talking to civic organizations and connecting with people, community organizers who are already doing the work, to basically sit down and listen to what do they want to see in the park, and how can we truly get you interested in the park project. As Curry said earlier on, who's now part of the community committee, me and him worked on the land blessing, which was one of the first in the city of Raleigh to be recognized the land of Dix Park. And that is what I am really all about when I talk about community, is going in and talking to people who are already doing the work, advocating for people, advocating for change and positive change in the community, and going there and listen to what they'll like to see. I really believe in the work of community involves 70% listening, 30% talking. And I think I really would like to leave with the community committee that when we do community work, we let go of our ego, and that especially with something like this, we really have to go out into community and listen and hear people and connect with them. And I'm here to do this work with you guys. I'm here to basically channel all this energy into being a servant to the public, and to make sure that as the future goes on, that we are shaping it to be exactly what they like. And I really would like to say to the community committee right now is that we are working for the public, and Dix Park is in Raleigh's backyard. This is a place that could become the cultural heartbeat to the city of Raleigh. And it's important to go out there and speak with people who maybe not be in your circle, because we always travel in the same group of people who think similar to us. Go out there and hear what people may think outside of your circle, and bring it back and use your expertise to help shape this plan, because it's an important, what the community committee will be doing is an important piece to this. And I'm so excited to work with y'all. And the truth is, as I go back to talking about letting go of your ego, we have to do this work out of body, use our experience. And it's not about our legacies. Our legacy will be whatever the legacy of the park will be. I want to thank y'all so much, and I'm looking forward to working with y'all. And I also would like to leave a little note for any new people. I know we have some people on this committee who maybe have never been on a committee, who are new to organizing. As someone who's young and just becoming active in my community, I want to say that I thank y'all for applying. You are here for a reason. You're in this space because you deserve it. And never be afraid to speak up and work together with your more seasoned partners. So thank you.
Thank you, Trey. Well said, and thank you, Sean, for sharing. We have one more piece of formal committee action, and I think we'll have a little bit more time to introduce some additional committee members. Kate, if we could share this last slide. We have a couple items to leave this group with today, and heads up for what's coming before our next meeting, which, as a reminder, is on September 21st. I have shared to date onboarding package A, which is park information, And I will be sharing a second package, onboarding package B, with information specific to the committee. So this will have our governing docs, which will explain some operational guidelines. It will also include the memo about how this committee was selected, if folks are interested there. So it'll be a good thing to read through. Again, if you're able to get to it, it will be a lot of information. But as Kate has mentioned, we're going to dedicate some time to answering questions. So if you have any, take note of those, and we'd love to speak a little bit more at a later date. We'll also be sending out a member survey. There's some additional pieces of information we need to get from y'all. Should be a short survey, but we'd love your responses before next meeting. So that'll be included in the follow-up email a little bit later this week. Our onboarding cohort sessions, I'll be sending a follow-up email with your onboarding cohort group, and that'll outline the schedule there. So similarly for that and for our walking tours, keep an eye out. The walking tours will be not this week, but the following week. There'll be a weekday evening, and then a weekend morning and a weekend afternoon. So we'll have them assigned to each cohort, but if there's a scheduling issue and another time works better, I'll share all 3 times and folks can choose the one that works best. And then finally, in advance of spending some time next meeting, we'll share some material for the team to review on the Plaza and Play project. Kate gave a good introduction today, but there's a lot more information to cover so that we're all up to speed before our activity next meeting. So that will be shared again in a follow-up email, but those are the items to keep a lookout for. With that's all the formal time. I'd like to, I'm going to ask some individuals who I know I can call on, have either interacted with or served previously, to share. Again, this is your name. If you're new or returning, and then your interest in serving on the committee. We'd love to hear from some folks with some extra time that we have, because we do have some extra time here, which is great. This will also be a really good time if folks have comments or questions they feel would be appropriate to share here in the chat, and we'll be monitoring that and can answer some questions there. So we won't spend the full 30 minutes doing this. We'll just do a couple more introductions here, and we'll throw it around the room symbolically. So let's see. Vanessa, would you mind sharing? We spoke the other day. I think you can probably handle it.
Yeah, hi Nick. Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa. I'm a student at NC State, a senior there, majoring in wildlife biology and international studies. So I'm really interested in the environmental aspects of this park, but also I grew up in Raleigh and have found the park, especially recently, to be a really great space to just kind of be at peace with all the craziness that's going on. So I'm really excited to be here and get to know other community members.
Thanks, Vanessa. I'm happy to have you. I had a question in the chat I want to get to next. Charles asked for any update on another time from the REI training, which is a great reminder to say thanks to those who were able to join for that. I hope that was a fruitful experience. I wasn't able to join, but from what I heard, it was pretty presentation style based as well. And I think that we will continue to provide other types of formats for additional conversations, because I'm sure folks have conversation type topics and questions and advice to bring to these conversations. So we don't have that information yet. We're working to develop it. But thanks for bringing that back up, Charles. Amy, would you mind saying hey?
I'm Amy Symes. I'm a returning person. Really excited to see what can be done with this park. Interested in getting as many different voices to the table to provide input. Been coming to the park since actually I was a little girl, because my father worked at the hospital there. So glad to see people.
Thanks, Amy. Happy to have you. Myrick, would you mind sharing?
I'm Myrick Howard. Grew up in Durham, and on bad days, my parents would tell me they're going to send me to Dix. I think most North Carolinians have had that experience at some point or another in their childhood. I've worked for the last 42 years with Preservation North Carolina, a historic preservation group, and have had for years an interest in the historic fabric at Dix Hospital. And I teach a class at Chapel Hill and Department of City and Regional Planning. Don't ask Kate about it. She might tell you about it. But a couple of times in the last 10 years, I've had, as a class project, a look at the Dix property and the buildings on the property with thoughts about how they might be reused. I live in walking distance of the park, and it's been a very exciting ride. And I'm also a member of the Conservancy Board, and I'm returning in terms of the Master Plan Advisory Committee. So,
Thanks, Myrick. I would love to hear from Dr. Paler.
Good evening. I am a new member, and the reason why I wanted to be a part of this great progressive committee is because I believe in being a good steward of the resources. I'm a retired administrator, so I've been a principal in Wake County, Durham County, and Chapel Hill, Carborough. So I truly believe in the triangle. I've participated in many activities at the park, and I've always just been amazed at this beautiful landscape that we have right here in our midst. So just going forward, I'm just so excited about what it can be and what it will be. And because of our hard work, both my parents were in mental health. So this is dear to my heart because both my parents are deceased now. So I just feel like a part of them is still in me with my community outreach. And I'm glad to be a part of this and to meet all of you.
Thank you. Very happy to have you. I realize that on the back end, this may be stress-inducing memories of being called on in class, so I apologize for that. Andrew Franklin, you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, for me, this is not stress-inducing because I've been called on in all 3 of my classes in law school today. So this is just par for the course. It's just cold call after cold call. But anyway, I'm Andrew Franklin. I am a second-year law student at Campbell University. I also went to Campbell for my undergraduate in history. I'm interested in being a part of this committee because when I moved to Raleigh for law school, I had a conversation with my girlfriend about, this is probably going to be a place where we're going to plant roots, and for that reason, I wanted to be an involved member of the community. I plan to have a career here, have a family here, and so I think that this was a good way for me to get involved in something that would be a lasting legacy, as we sort of talked about a few minutes ago. My expertise, I guess, it would be on the history, cultural resource side of things. I did earn a master's in history at Appalachian State. So I'll carry some of that knowledge to this committee, hopefully. That's what I hope to do. And I'm really looking forward to working with everybody. This looks like a great group of people, and I think we're going to accomplish a lot here. So.
Thanks, Andrew. Happy to have you. Excuse me, Ali, would you mind sharing and also what time it is at your corner of the world?
Hey, good day from Australia. Yeah, so it's about 9 a.m. So it's bright and early. I'm drinking coffee. Maybe the rest of you are drinking an adult beverage by now. I don't know. Yeah, so took a one-year appointment, almost like a sabbatical here at the University of Wollongong, where I'm mentoring social impact and environmental impact for startup businesses. So we're just trying to see how can business be a force for good. Builds on my work at NC State as a social entrepreneur in residence there. I have my consulting firm, Designbox, still functioning. They're actually, I think, doing better without me around. So still trying to deal with that. So hope to be back soon. I think we're just kind of doing the COVID dance right now and trying to figure it out. So hopefully in November or so we'll be back.
Awesome. Taylor Smith, we haven't spoken, but I'd love for you to say hey.
Hi, Nick. No, we haven't spoken. And this is a little stress-inducing for me. So my name is Taylor Smith. I was raised in Raleigh, North Carolina. So being a part of this committee is really not only just an honor for me, but I'm just extremely excited just to learn from everybody here and just to continue to find ways to serve my community. I currently work for PRA Health Sciences as a senior contract and budget associate, excuse me. And I graduated from North Carolina Central School of Law. So that's where the nerds come from, the Socratic method, as Andrew talked about. But I'm extremely excited just to be here and to just to serve this community. I think the idea of this project is extraordinary, and you know, volunteering in Raleigh through different nonprofits and working with youth. I just love the idea of engaging communities that don't necessarily look at the park as an everyday activity, and just really to continue just to grow and become more healthy and to be engaged in Raleigh and be a family together, you know? So, yeah.
Thanks, Taylor. Happy to have you. Eric, I see you up here. Hey, Eric, I think you're still muted.
How's that? All right. Hey, guys, I'm Eric. I was actually born in Taiwan, but I grew up in Raleigh. I'm a bit of jack of all trades. I'm a real estate agent as well as a general contractor. But I also grew up on a farm about 12 minutes from downtown, and we've been using the last couple of years to turn that land into a trust and preserve that land for future generations. And that led me to the Voluntary Agricultural District Council, which is also a community-based Wake County membership council that preserves farmland for future generations. So the agriculture component, the wildlife component, and that kind of thing is what really interests me. And I appreciate being able to work on this council.
Thanks, Eric. Happy to have you. I also want to recognize Stephen Bentley, Assistant Director for the Parks Department, is on with us tonight. I'm not sure if he's able to speak, but I want to recognize him, and also Oscar Carmona, who is the Parks Director for the Parks Department in the City of Raleigh. They're both here listening in. I'm very excited about this project as well. So if y'all are available, we'd love to hear from you. But until then, we're going to keep it rolling. How about both of the bills? Bill Paget, can you start?
Sure. It's good to be here with everyone. It's fantastic to finally see faces starting with this committee again, and it looks like a great group. I retired from NC State about a decade ago as director of IT, and spent from about year 2001 or 2 up until now with Dix Park. And for most of those years, it was a big question about whether or not we'd have a Dix Park to work with or not. And there were about probably 10 to 15, 20,000 people that were very focused and dedicated to that if it wasn't going to stay as a mental health institute. So keep that in mind. The folks from that it served once for 150, 160 years were folks that were suffering with mental illnesses. And so we hope that this park is going to be sort of, in ways, a continuation of that physical and mental wellness, and that legacy of Dorothea Dix will continue. I will say that we're over at the park almost every day for at least an hour or so, usually walking early in the morning. So if you see me with my wife and a dog named Moss, Stephanie, that's my mother's maiden name, was Moss. And so our dog is Moss. And he's usually out herding sheep out there somewhere on that field. So I look forward to seeing y'all, and particularly at the park. We can social distance. It's good to see everybody, and welcome to the committee.
Thanks, Bill. Mr. Ross, are you with us?
I'm here. Thanks, Nick. Great to be here. Hello, everybody. Really excited about working with you all on this committee. I got interested in parks and greenways and land conservation when I'd grown up in Raleigh, went away to college and law school, but came back, and this is in the 70s, I got appointed to the city's first citizen commission to recommend to the city council how to set up a greenway system in Raleigh. And that work was so interesting and satisfying that it sort of set me on a trail of a variety of other projects over the years involving parks, greenways, trails, and land conservation. So it's really a thrill to be working on a project as important as this one in a place that values parks and greenways so highly. I had a chance to serve on the Master Plan Advisory Committee, which I enjoyed, and also serve on the Conservancy Board. So thrilled to be working on this with you all. And we've got some great work to do here. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. I forgot that we do have, in fact, a third Bill. Mr. King, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. There's a lot of bills on this committee, so we're gonna have to sort that out. I'm Bill King. I'm the president of the Downtown Raleigh Alliance, and it's an honor to be with you all. I was on the Dix Park Master Planning Committee, so I served with a number of you and had a great time. I think this is just such an incredible opportunity and project, and I'm really excited. And one of the things that I really appreciated was all the friendships I got just out of doing this work. So I think if nothing else, you will leave here with a lot of new great friends, and it's pretty fun work. And you know, when we meet in person, sometimes they give you dinner, and that's pretty cool too. So just putting that out there, if that's the thing that we do again, that's like was a pretty cool thing that you guys did. So just think about it. Anyway, I'm really excited. I'm particularly excited about ways to connect this park to the community. So obviously, certainly I want to connect to the downtown, but it needs to be connected to the entire rest of the community. So I'm interested in everything about it, but connectivity, particularly interested in, and then obviously historic preservation. I was a student of Myricks at UNC, so always excited about the buildings, and they're fascinating. So anyway, it's an honor to be with you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill. Unfortunately, dinner has been deferred till next year, so back later on. I think Oscar is with us, not video capable, but able to join. Oscar, are you with us, and can you say a few things if you don't mind?
Yes, I'll go ahead and put my video on, even though I'm not wearing my my Sunday best per se, but thank you. It's great to virtually meet all of you all. First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for being interested in serving on this community committee. As you all know, Dix Park is probably the biggest park project the city of Raleigh has undertaken. So we are all excited that this is going to be a park for all, not just for the Raleigh community, but also a regional attraction for everyone. It's a big project. It's a great partnership between the city of Raleigh and the Dix Park Conservancy, and we're so excited about the possibilities that are out there in our relationship with the Conservancy. I'm fairly new to the community. I moved here in January from Texas, and so I'm still trying to learn as much as I can about Raleigh and all the park system. But your interest is very much appreciated as we continue moving forward with this highly important project. And I'll just kind of say in closing that us in the park and recreation profession have a saying that says that communities build parks, and in turn parks build communities. So thank you for all the excellent work and the work you are going to be putting ahead, and really look forward to hopefully meeting you all in person sometime soon.
Thanks, Oscar, and I think that's actually a great place to wrap up. Thanks for everyone's time this evening. Apologies to those that aren't able to share. We will reserve time at a future meeting because we do want to meet everyone, meet in quotes, everyone. So as always, look out for some emails from Trey and myself. We look forward to working with all of you, and a genuine echo from Trey and Oscar about the thanks that we pass along for your interest and time dedicated here. So I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their week, and reach out at any point if you need anything. So have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody.